What's up, Liron here, and in this video you're going to learn how to create a beautiful sense of light with watercolor painting, how to keep an even wash, how to merge multiple shapes using color temperature, and how to sketch with the purpose of using it for a painting. What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. And today I want to show you how I painted this and how I sketched it as well. And we're going to learn a lot of valuable lessons using this. Now, if you're unfamiliar, these two are Bargue-based paintings. So Charles Bargue was a French painter, and he devised this method of teaching in ateliers of art how to create a replica that's really high quality, basically, of these kinds of sketches. Now, I'm using it just as a basic reference for a watercolor sketch, and quite a small one, not too detailed as well, but there are a lot of things you can learn using this. And because there is just one or two main shapes of shadows, this can teach us a lot about both of these actually, but we're going to do this one. It can teach us a lot about how to keep an even wash, how to merge as many shapes as possible, how to use color temperature in an environment that's relatively comfortable because there isn't too much, the watercolor aspect of things won't challenge you too much. Okay, so this is really a good exercise for beginners. Now I'm going to put the references in the description box below so you can use the same thing. And what I want to do is first show you how I sketched this, and then how I finally paint it. We're going to talk about a lot of really valuable stuff that I've been asked a lot about: how to merge different areas of paint, how to lead the wash, and it's going to be really good for beginners as well. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so we'll get started with the drawing stage now. You're going to have hopefully the reference somewhere around here, and I'll also link it down below again. Now, I want to talk about what I did. So basically I took measurements from the farthest edges of the Bargue original sketch. So there's this corner around here, then there's the top corner around there, and then I just created a rectangle so that I can constrain the shape inside the rectangle. Okay, this helps me just to better follow what I'm doing here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to draw it just the way I see it, because luckily for us it's ideal. It's just the way to make it perfect for a painting. Okay, so I'm gonna get started, and I may cut out some of this process just because it is super long. Usually whenever it's a face, it's more challenging and a longer process. So what I'm doing is connecting this top edge with this one. There's this wavy shape here, then here is the leftmost edge, sorry, of this sketch. There's this funny shape here, kind of like that, which connects to this part. This is sort of a broken part of the hair of this statue. And again, I may shorten this process just not to make sure not to make it too long. Now let's see what else we can use here. We have a line coming down from here, like a plumb line. So I'm going to drop it all the way down, and I can see in the reference that it's around the middle of this area. So I'm going to drop it down. Again, I'm not accurate, and I know many of you, if you're doing Bargue, you're going to say that this is not the way to do it, and that's fine. I'm only using it for, again, painting purposes. So here we have the bottom of the face, somewhere around here. Now, there's this diagonal line, and this goes up somewhere around here. And again, I'm not going to be as accurate as I should or could be, but that's not my goal here. I just want to prepare this for a painting. Now notice how I'm not as accurate as I could because I'm practicing my new overhand grip of holding the pencil from above, which is still a big challenge for me, but I'm trying to incorporate that fully into my routine. But the main interesting part is going to be once we really start painting this. Now here we have the sort of outline of the face. We have this edge here. There's this rounded shape going around the shape of the face, like so. And this is approximately where the nose is going to be. And again, I'm mostly eyeballing it, not doing it the way you should do a Bargue. The nose, again, is going to be somewhere around here. So we have this line. I'm gonna fix some of the proportions that may be off. Maybe I'll do it on camera, maybe off camera, but just important to get the main outlines here. And again, you can follow this along with me and with the original bark, so you don't really need to even follow what I'm doing. If you want to follow along, just paint it the way you see it, sketch it the way you see it, and try to be more accurate than me. So now we have this line here, this one connects again strongly to here. Now we get to start having an indication of a face. Now there is the shadow line that moves around here, goes all the way to the right, connects somewhere around here. This is where the shadows on the cheek are gonna be. We have this line here, gets to somewhere around here, then all the way down there, and it connects with the cheek, I would say at a lower spot, so probably somewhere around here. Now this line for the top of the eyebrow, we have a shadow coming along through here, connecting to this area. Sorry, there's a lot of beeping and noise from the street, and this is quite a gloomy day, so I hope first off that you can see everything well, but also that there's no noise coming through from the rain or anything like that. I miss those days. We had 1 or 2 sunny days, and I'm like, I miss the rain for some reason. Now the mouth area, and you don't need to interpret too much because Barg is basically giving you the answer of where everything is gonna be, where the shadows and the lights and everything, which is why, again, I love these exercises. Then we have the lip coming around here, dropping that line over here. The funny thing is that the painting process is gonna be really quick for this one, because again, it's just one even layer. Then we have the base of the statue, like that, kind of around here. Like this, connect this to here, connect this to there, like this, and drop this line over here. And now all we have left to do really is the details near the eye here and some of this crown thing. And as always, I'm low on battery on the camera, so I hope it doesn't turn off or anything. This is basically the eye. Here we have this kind of shape moving along to this area here, this crown. And what else? We got this line going over here, like this, connects to here. And I think we're pretty much done. So I'm gonna go over the lines, strengthen some of them, but this is pretty much ready to be painted. And I'll make small corrections if I see anything too glaring, but I think that's pretty much ready to go. Okay, so now we're almost ready to paint this, but there are a couple of corrections I want to make. This eye should be more at an angle. Now, aside from corrections, we actually have more details to add because now, as you can see, the sketch on the right, on the reference photo that I'll also again attach here, looks a little different. There are some extra details added here. This part should be a little larger, so that we actually have a room for the lip, and we can get rid of some of that line over here. Now some details I want to add. There is this shadow is going a little more to the left and a little more to the right here, and there's this slanted shape here. What else do we have here? We have all of the details of the whatever that is. It may be hair, it may not be. That I'm gonna get in quite loosely again. Don't want to go with too much details. Plus, I also don't worry too much about them being in the right place necessarily. All I care about really is for them to somewhat resemble the original, or at least the spirit of the original. And then I do want to make most of the work come from the paint. Okay, this is something that is always important for me to practice on, how I can bring the most advancement of the art piece from the paint and not necessarily from the pencil. And if you're relying on your sketches too much, it can sometimes end up looking maybe like a painting coloring book, because there isn't enough of the brush work in there. So this, you can treat this area like kind of a snowy mountain. It's the same vibe here. There are all of these small creases and beveled parts and parts that go in and go out. So all of this intricate shape really can be reduced to something like this. All of this part is going to be in the shadow. I'm just going to mark it down for myself to remember. Here, we're going to have this part of the crown, and it kind of gets cut in half, or not in half, but just gets cut in the middle around here, and then connects to another section right around there. And these all are details I'm going to bring out more again with the paint itself. This is a little rounder. Here we have some details of the eyebrow that I want to make sure I get in there. There is this part that should be lit. I just want to make sure that I preserve that later on. There's the shape here that's a little more well defined, kind of like that, of the edge of the statue where it broke. Now here we have a bit of a curve. Imagine this kind of curve, and then goes straight down onto the part where it becomes like a statue for real. This part has some waves in it, which create this shadow around here. That's important to get. And notice how I'm holding the pencil a little differently now because I'm doing the smaller details, not the larger lines. So it's easier like that. We have this line that I missed that is going to play an important role in defining the shadow under the nose. The nose should be at a bit more of an angle than it's sharp like that, like this. Here we have that kind of thing. And I think with that, we're ready to paint this. So I'm going to prep my paint here. I'm going to set this aside and we'll get started. Now, I do want to talk about plan. Before we even do that, with the paint, what we're going to do is shade this area, then use this dark spot to connect it to the bottom here, and then shade all of this large area and also connect it to the shadow here in the nose. Now, a very important part of this is visualizing. I actually want you to visualize the exact areas that you're gonna paint. The rest is gonna be left completely white, okay? Now, I'm gonna help you with the visualization by doing these cross-hatching, but in some paintings you won't have that luxury, so you actually have to focus really hard and figure out how to recognize the areas you're gonna fill in with a shadow. Okay, you actually want to visualize this shape, the actual shape, the way it looks. Like, for example, you see this line over here, you actually want to visualize it, then it connects to the nose, then it goes down like this. You want to be able to, oh, sorry, you can't see. I'm gonna do that again so to make sure you can see this shape. You want to visualize it goes like this, then it curves above the eyebrow, then it goes like this down for the nose. You actually want to be able to see these shapes if you want to be able to paint them. Okay, so I'm going to clean this because I want it to be clean this time, and I'm going to set things up and we'll start painting. Okay, so we'll get started here, and again, it's the most important part is to visualize what you're gonna fill, and I'm gonna talk us through this. I also have the original painting in front of me and the reference. Now, what's important to understand is I'm gonna start with the same color scheme, okay? Now, I just want to convey some sense of light, so I'm going to try and move gradually from warm to cool. So we're going to start with this quinacridone burnt orange. I'm essentially using the Daniel Smith secondary palette, secondary color set. And I'm starting here with the orange. Now, the value isn't of great concern here because we know it should be kind of a mid value. So not too dark, not too light. So anywhere in the middle would work. Now notice how I'm connecting whatever is necessary, but I'm still not touching these areas. Now I'm using a silver black velvet brush. The reason is I do want a tip that will allow me some accuracy, but I also want to be able to fill in large areas as well. So I don't want to use anything different. Like the Raphael brush isn't too good for tight spots, like the silver black velvet. So I'm not using that because I do need some accuracy near the edges. You see, I'm slowly building it up. Now here, I'm going to help the paint move through using this area here. Okay, I'm connecting it, and now the paint is going to flow. I'm also, again, at a bit of a slant to help the color move downwards. So there's a shadow coming through here, a very gentle shadow coming through here. Now here I really have to be careful. I'm just trying to interpret some of the shapes that I see. I'll probably mess some of it up, but that's fine. We have this kind of a funny shape here. Something like that. Again, taking a lot of liberties, quite a few liberties here, but just trying to create an impression that's similar to the original one, okay? So this hopefully works for you as well. I'm gonna add a bit more orange to it. It's not pure enough. So now you can see the orange in its full glory. Now here it's really important to take our time and figure out what's going on. So here I wanna start maybe cooling it down. So I'm gonna use a bit of the carbazole violet here. Right after I was so happy to use a pure orange, I'm immediately dumbing it down. Now there is this left area and I want to make sure that we get to everything. So I'm going to charge this with water, just bringing in some more water here. So that way I'm not going to lose that edge. And now I'm going to move on to the left section. Now I'm switching to a bit more vibrant orange here as well. And I'm connecting this and I'm just carefully observing the reference to make sure that I go with the right areas. And you have to work a little more slowly in some of these tight spots because this is really where it becomes important. Now, the reason why this is a little easier than perhaps and I think I also made a mistake here. I'm gonna dab it and hopefully it'll end up working. Wasn't concentrated enough, I guess, around here. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this part, dab some of it out, and then put in this shadow here that'll help me navigate, and you can see me live fixing my mistakes. And then here, you know what, let's try this way. Let's see if that ends up looking right. If not, then, you know, worst case, you'll still learn something from this video. But in any case, now the nose. And again, this is what makes talking and filming so hard, and painting, obviously. So now there's this curve around here indicating the shape of the cheek. So it's really important to get that kind of curve in, off to the nose. Let's use a bit more, even stronger orange, like this. Here there's a bit of a inwards movement, and we're connecting it all here. Now I had an important insight I just wanted to share, but then I forgot because of this small mess up. So hopefully I'll remember in just a moment what I wanted to say. Now we do have this very gentle shadow here. And this already connects to this shape, like so. And we can continue with this line. Hopefully I didn't lose too much of the flow here. Even if you do these stopping stations, you can lose some of the flow. Now I'm gonna do a very quick change from orange here. Very vibrant and happy. And then we're gonna move on to some violet and green on the right here. I'm gonna start wetting the undersea green as well, in the area that's more in the shadow, like so. And this area is large, we don't need to wait for too long, we can just go through it. What else? Okay, and then we can continue moving on. Hopefully later on I can fix any mistakes next to the eye. I can't believe I messed that up after I already did this once. But in any case, just goes to show you that there's always something to learn. So continuing here, like this. Now this part will actually connect to a shadow under the lip that I want to get with a bit stronger orange, like so. And it will blend a bit with the original paint that has a bit of green and a bit of violet. Oh, what I wanted to say earlier was that there are very few mid values here, like here under the eyelid, that I can get to later on, so I'm not too worried about that. And of course there are some areas where the paint was blended. I'm not going to worry about that either. All I'm going to worry about is filling in the areas with this mid value, okay? Now this right side, breaking some of my rules and kind of overworking or reworking some areas, but that's fine. Again, as long as we have the general shape of the shadow that we want, I'm good with that. Actually, let's use a bit more pure green just to get some interest. Whenever I use pure paints, it becomes a little more interesting. So let's do that. And I actually don't want too much variation here, because if I get too much variation in the value, then it's going to hurt the impression. Okay, so we have some green here, and maybe around the bottom of the statue, let's add a bit of purple. just for fun. Violet, sorry, not purple. I always confuse the two. I don't know why, but anyway, violet, violet, and now we have all of our secondary colors of Daniel Smith working here. I'm going to put a link down if you want to purchase this set. It's very useful, and I use these three almost as primary colors. So now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, and the reason why is that I do need a bit more accuracy. Now let's see how wet the paint is. I could try blending, and hopefully I don't mess it up too royally. Maybe just one area, just to have some variety of edges. Let's blend this just a bit, like so. I'm not going to worry about, again, too much technique in this video. It's not the main reason for me doing this. Like this, I'm going to blend that edge just a tiny bit. Okay, and it looks like we're good to go, but I do want to add a bit of a darker spot here between the lips, because I do see it like so. What else should we do here? Okay, now we can start working on the upper section back again. The reason we didn't is I didn't want to break our efforts into two, and this part could wait, so it's not really an issue. And I'm just going to do some of these shapes here. There's a major shadow around this shape, kind of like that. And again, I'm not following it to the T. I'm just trying to create that same feeling that I see when I'm looking at the original. And in fact, with watercolor, what's really cool is every time you'll get a bit of a different result, really, because of all of the wet and wet effects. It's really hard to get a controlled result that's going to be exactly the same. That's part of the magic, really. And it has nothing to do with technique. No matter how good technically you are, it's still going to be a challenge, because it's so much of it is controlled by the water and Mother Earth, as they say. So yeah, now here I'm going to add a very gentle indication for this crown or whatever that kind of thing she wears. We have this. Now here we have a gentle shadow under the eyebrow like this, and an indication of the eye like that. And I would say, funny enough, we're pretty much done here. We have this shape right around here. And I think this is really it. We could add more details. We could do wet and wet here, change the shape of the face. But I actually like the fact that the transition goes from orange to green here, right next to the bottom of the face. I actually really like the shape it created. And instinctively and intuitively, I know not to try and mess around with it, because it looks good now. There's no need to change anything. Now, I want to show you how we can instantly turn this into something that looks much cooler. And that's going to be by adding a background, obviously. Because right now, and this you have to understand, values, when you recognize values in a painting, it all happens within, by the way, I'm just going to add this short, small line here. But you have to understand it all happens in the context of the surrounding of the painting, okay? So what happens here is, and actually there's a bit more I just want to correct stuff all the time. Let's do it like this. Just this shape of the eye needs to be like that. Okay. Now, again, you have to understand that when you're seeing values, you're seeing them in the context of the environment. So these two look really different. This one looks much darker, but the highlights aren't popping too much because they have nothing on this side to compare to. So this is exactly what I'm going to create. And here's where the temperature and the harmony are going to come into play, because here there's a lot of orange. So for the background, I'm going to use a bit of a muted combination of paints. So we're going to get started, and I'm just going to have fun with it. I won't worry too much about where I'm taking the shapes, or I'm just going to make sure it's going to be rather abstract, we can say, but I just want to make sure that I wrap around the shape of the actual object here nicely, okay? Now here I'm going to lighten things up to create an even better contrast with the statue. What I do want to do is add a bit of orange to this spot. This will give maybe the feeling of light really coming from this side. Now here's where the real magic is going to come from once we add this side here. And I'm going to flip it. That's a good trick for you, because that way you can have more control, as you can see here. and then I can see the shape and come from the right. If you're left-handed, the other side would have been more comfortable perhaps. But what you have to realize is that sometimes it's hard to read the shapes of what you painted when it's upside down, because you got so used to seeing it one way, so you have to make sure that you're indeed following the right shapes and doing the right areas, filling in the right areas. You don't want to accidentally fill an area that's an actual part of the face. I'm gonna go very carefully around the eye and the nose. Almost had a blooper here with the nose. Now I'm gonna green it up quite abruptly. I'm gonna go around this line once again. And here, and around the nose. And when I'll flip it, when I'll turn it back around, I think you're gonna really like the result. Here we go. And now this feels like a very strong sense of light, okay? So hopefully you see how that comes into play. I'm just gonna cut around this corner, and I think from this point I'm just gonna let it do whatever it does. Won't try to do anything beyond this point. And I think we are done with this one. So let me show you. I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit so you can see everything. Okay, so here it is in its full glory, and I'm gonna hold it up so you can see it also up close. This part is still wet. We have a very strong bead here still. So I'm gonna just get rid of it like this, and we're done. And I think really a good sense of light. There is a bit of a blooper here around this area, and also we can fill it with a lighter value in just a moment. But overall, this conveys what I wanted. It creates this beautiful sense of light and shadow. You can read the shape very well. I can't read it very well because I'm so close to the painting that I have the what you call the artist curse. I actually can't see it for what it is anymore, because I painted this several times and sketched it as well. But hopefully you can, and you can enjoy it for the both of us. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed this quick demo, and now we can wrap up the video. So here is the final result. Once again, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot from it, mainly in terms of how to create that sense of light, how to merge the different elements of the wash together to create a better flow, how to play around with the color, temperature, and harmony. Hopefully you can see this well. I don't know why the light's a little off. But in any case, yeah. And also one last thing, and I know you love this, seeing me struggle and trying to figure out how to correct a mistake I made, that's also a valuable part of it. And almost every painting I do has some element of that involved in, even the ones, of course, off camera. But I will say this, that when off camera I'm a little more focused, and with that last painting that I showed you for the last few videos, that I will hopefully finish soon, I was able to be much more concentrated and much more deliberate in each and every step of the way. So in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe if you still haven't. This means a lot to me, and let me know in a comment down below what you think about this kind of tutorial. Try to make it simpler, smaller scale, more specific, so it wasn't a scene, it wasn't something too long, but still we did it real time, okay? So this was probably one of the most fun ones to make for me personally, and I hope to do more of these. So thank you so much for watching, and really appreciate it, and I will see you again in another vid real soon.